Hey guys, this is the second part of the 9.5 angles in a circle video. So let's pick up with this example here. I was asking you to find the arc BC. Finding the arc BC. So down here on the outside where the question mark is. And we know that because this plus sign is made in the middle, because the angle is inside the circle, that the angle is equal to half the sum of the arcs. So the angle is 84. Has to equal, well, I have to sum something and I have to take half of it because that's what I'm asking. And it's of the arcs. So one of my arcs is BC and the other arc is 73. And I always get used to listing the one that's bigger and first and the one that's smaller second because it's going to help me out later. Now, to get rid of the 2 in the denominator, the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2 on both sides. So I get that BC plus 73 equals 84 times 2 is 168. Okay, so let's scroll down just a second so that I can have a little bit more room to write. To get BC by itself, all I have to do is subtract 73 from both sides. So we find that arc BC is 95 degrees. 95 degrees. I could put 95 back in. So if I take 95 plus 73 and divide that by 2, I will get 184 degrees, which is the angle. Okay, so inside creates this plus sign. I gotta find the sum. So let's look at some examples of when the angle is on the outside. Okay, so first thing that we should always identify is, what does it want me to find? Well, in this case, question mark's pointing to this angle. It wants me to find angle DEF. What is angle DEF? Well, where is it? That's the next thing. Where's angle DEF? DEF's on the outside. So if it's on the outside, that means the angle is equal to half the difference. That's what you just have to remember. If I pull that on the outside, I have to subtract these numbers, these arcs. Well, you might be asking yourself, what arcs are being formed here? Well, I have to look. Angle DEF, would you not agree? If I trace DEF, that's the exact same angle as saying CEJ. Exact same angle. So I have all of these different points here. At point D, it touches the circle, and at F, and at C, and at J. I have these 4 points. Those, in between those points, are where my arcs are created. So I have this arc DF and this arc CJ. That is what I'm taking the difference of. So the angle DEF will equal, I'm going to take the difference of two numbers and divide by 2. So I always put my big one first. So CJ is 132 degrees. DF is 52 degrees, okay? One moment here. I am going crazy with my pointer. So let's scroll down and have a little bit more space. 132 minus 52. Hold on a second, guys. I think I have a different example than you guys did in your guided notes. No endeavor. 132 minus 52 is calculating. I'm so bad at mental math. So bad at mental math. But I can just show you as well. 132 minus 52 is equal to, I don't know if you guys can see that, but let's move this up here for just a second. It's equal to 80. You guys can't see that. Going back to OneNote. Sorry that I'm so bad at mental math and I'm a math teacher. 80 over 2 equals angle DEF. 80 divided by 2 is 40. So the measure of angle DEF is equal to 40 degrees. My handwriting is getting progressively worse. So now let's look at this other example here. So this one is more similar to what the second problem that you guys have. So I'll do this one, and I want you to do that second problem that's beside us in your guided notes. Try that one on your own. So, what does it want me to find? It wants me to find HF. Find HF. Okay, first thing I need to identify is where's my angle. My angle's here. Is this angle on the inside or outside? Outside. So once I find out that's on the outside, that means I'm going to take half the difference to find the answer. So my angle is 51. And it's going to be half the difference of the arcs. All I have to do at this point is figure out where my two arcs are. Where are those 4 points that it is creating? And what do you know? The other arc is right here. If I were to extend G to T and G to E, I have a point at H, T, E, and F. So I'm going to have big arc is 155 minus small arc, let's just call it X. And now I can solve. In order to get rid of the divided by 2, I'm going to multiply everything by 2. When I multiply this by 2, they cross, and I'm left with, whoops, that's a little bit too close. 155 minus X has to equal, what's 51 times 2? That's 102. I'm much better at multiplying in my head than adding and subtracting. It's kind of embarrassing. So now, I don't like to deal with negative X, so I'm just going to add X to both sides. And I'll have that 155 has to equal 102 plus X. To get X by itself, I will subtract 102 from both sides. So X has to equal 53 degrees. So that arc here, instead of calling it X, now we know what the answer is. This arc has to be 53 degrees. Now you have one more example to do. And I want you to try that on your own, okay? You have the circle DCA. But let's look at the stretch problem here because these are two really great problems and I want to see, okay? What I want you to do, figure out, I want you to play around with this problem right here. It's hard and it's okay to be hard. It's okay to try and it's okay to fail. I'm never asking you to be perfect. I'm asking you to try. So try this problem on your own. We'll discuss it on Thursday. But before we close off here, let's talk about this example. Well, the first thing we always figure out is what does it want me to find? Well, it wants me to find this angle right here. Okay, I have to find angle CDE. But if I were to extend my lines, what happens when my angle is formed by, what's our vocab word for lines that touch at exactly 1 point? Well, C and E are points of tangency. So those DE and CD are tangents. So how can I find this? Well, if it only touches at 1 point, where are my two arcs? Well, my first arc is here, and it's 115. And I know, because this is on the outside, that I'm going to take half the difference of the arcs. So this angle, angle CDE, is going to equal half the difference of something. Well, looking at this, it's only touching at 1 point. I have arc, the minor arc, CE, and that is 115 degrees. And you might be asking, well, why in the world did Miss Gardner put that there? Why did she put it on the little, where the little arc goes? Well, watch this, guys. What if I talk about the major arc, CE? The major arc. How many degrees do I know has to be in a full circle? 360. Well, if part of that circle is 115, what's the rest of the circle? 315, blah, blah, 360 minus 115 is 245 degrees. So this green portion, this major arc, is 245 degrees. And now I can find this angle. I can take 245 minus 115 and find that that is 130. And when 130 is divided by 2, it will yield to me the degree for which I am finding this angle. 130 divided by, do you feel the hype that I'm building up for this problem? 130 divided by 2 is a whopping 65 degrees. 65 degrees. Okay? Now, I asked for you guys to try this problem over here, and I still want you to try it, but I am going to give you a wee bit of a hint. Let this be x. Let question mark be x, and question mark refers to the minor arc FD. Think about how we could represent the major arc FD by only knowing that what's in red is x. And we're going to use this very, very, very similar idea that we did here. We just don't know what, instead of 115, we now have x. Okay? So try that one on your own. And we will definitely discuss that on Thursday. So what I need you guys to do, I need you to, you can either watch the 9-6 video and do your notes right now, or go ahead and do the 9-5 practice. It's all on these angles in a circle, and then move on and watch 9-6, okay? 9-6 is right at 2 15-minute videos, so it'll take you about 30 minutes. So you're going to want to spend some time and pay attention to that. You have 70 minutes in class. There should be no reason that you don't finish all of your assignments. Have any questions? Shoot me an email. I'll have my phone. This is Miss Gardner signing off.